structures and all that. This is really where the debate's got to go. Dean Baker's plan, we've let it go to commercial enterprises as well as non-commercial. Some people feel that way. This is what we have to discuss and study and investigate. I'm open-minded. This is where the debate's got to be. We're not saying we want to close it. We want to open it exactly that point. We don't have any final solutions. We're really convinced, though, that if we actually make it a subject to debate, we can come up with some pretty good answers. We can experiment. But that's where we've got to get the point. And that's one of the issues that has to be resolved.
We are not fans of everything becoming a 501c3 because we think that they tend to be sapped of a lot of their political muscle and strength, actually the ability to say something. Newspapers, used to be TV stations more, should do editorials, they should take stands, they should endorse candidates, and if you suck that out of it, you really suck a lot of the vibrancy. And if you look at the internet, what people do like about the internet, what I love about it is the ability to make a stronger statement, a more robust statement, not one that's dumbed down. So we're not headed that direction. Where we're headed toward is what we hope is a vibrant culture on the internet. It will mostly be digital, but it may also be somewhat in print, we hope. And there's a lot of different ways to get there. One of the things that we talk about, particularly in a setting like this, but it could happen in a lot of settings, is the notion that we'd like to see the government in the game of quarterbacking the transition of ownership from existing owners who have, I use a polite term, raped the communities in which they operate, taking money like crazy and giving them less and less journalism, and get rid of those companies and sell...
For daily newspapers.
Yes, for daily newspapers. And sell the paper to local owners who actually want to do journalism. And we think that there's a huge potential for that. And we also, what's intriguing about it is that it's something that when we talk to members of Congress, there's actually interest in that. And so let me talk about the politics for a second. When we wrote this book, we thought we were talking about ideas that would slowly begin to enter into the discourse, and over 10 or 20 years, maybe we'd get to the political will that we were hoping for. What fascinated us was when we got to Washington, we were blown away. The members of the Federal Communications Commission as well as the Federal Trade Commission asked to meet with us. They had copies of our book. And they were going through it saying, we think this idea is workable, we're not sure about this one. We had members of Congress who contacted us and said, look, we like these ideas, we especially like this one. The one that everybody loves is News America or Right for America, whatever you like. Everybody, they all love young people, blah, blah, blah. And, and so, I mean, we've had members of the House Commerce Committee already talking to us about that one. We're blown away by the level of interest and engagement. Next week and a half, I'll speak to the American Society of Newspaper Editors, which for the first time ever is entertaining this discussion. And I'll be talking to ACLU around the same time. There's an opening up of the discourse that just wasn't there. Now, do we think this is going to happen in 5 minutes? No, we don't. But we think we'll get elements of it in the next year. We think that in the next few years we will see more and more of this, because the trends we're talking about aren't, they're not going to change. And so the question to get in does go to that small d democratic issue. And then we get to the final point, well, the money though, because we constantly told America's broke. That there's absolutely no money. Look, if there was some dictator in Iraq, we couldn't even take him out. Or if there was if the banks got in trouble, we couldn't possibly bail out the banks because we have no money. Well, it's a lot, of course. We have all the money. We have all the money we want if we want to do something. We always have, and we always will. It's a comedy to say that we don't. That's a political construct developed to shut people up and have them ask for less. And the fact of the matter is that if we went to the most radical spending levels, that we took everything that we're talking about in the book, put it all together, we would come to about 3 or 4% of the bank bailout, the first bank bailout. We'd come to a whopping 10 weeks of our occupation of Iraq. And when you talk to crowds of Americans, and we've spoken to Rotary clubs, we've spoken, church groups. We don't just come to the vaunted halls of the University of Minnesota. When we say to people, yeah, we're talking about doing some major stuff here that would sustain civic and democratic life in this country, and it might cost you as much as 10 weeks in Iraq, we're blown away by the extent to which people are like, wow, oh, okay, that's not so bad. And here's the other thing. Do you know where we did create where we did do all the subsidies and we went in and spent the money and to create a media system that worked, and television and newspapers and radio and internet and everything? Iraq. We spent billions. We sent billions to Iraq to do it because what did we want to do? We wanted to create a democracy. And we said, you can't do it by just waiting for the market to do it. This is a very critical moment. We have got to get in there and spend some money and make it happen. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to quote my friend Keith Ellison. If infrastructure and bridge building is good enough for Iraq, it's good enough for Minneapolis too.